Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's episode of the PivotCast. I'm your host, Sarah the Pivoter. Here on the PivotCast, I interview super rad humans from all around the world doing epic things in all walks of life. This is a platform to share their voice and their story with you. In today's episode of the PivotCast, I'm hosting the amazing Kiki. She's the super rad mother of dragons. Need I say more? We will be talking all things dragons, change, and leadership. Kiki is an amazing human with an incredible story to share with us to challenge the paradigm of what being successful and how we can be successful actually means. It's all about the human element. We can all learn how to human a little bit better with her. So join us for what promises to be an epic energy exchange and riveting story. A few words from Kiki before I bring her on stage. I have been in leadership since teenage years, beginning with stage direction, dance team lead, choreographer, movement instruction, arts facilitation, evolving to being a co-creative director and leader in established bands and freelance creative communities. My professional career includes 13 and more years of sales, service, entrepreneurship, 10 years in team management operations, and 5 years collaborating directly with the C-level on SMB development. In the present moment, her skill set is focused on experiential and operational excellence, and she's in the VP and or C-level range depending on the organization requirements. Leadership has always been a theme in Kiki's life, and as an autistic person, a life of being divergent or not fitting in has conversely always positioned her to be a leader in her communities. The journey is not always smooth, and in order to lead effectively, she's had to first heal and then shift her paradigm on how she saw herself and her abilities. So as you can see, we will have an amazing conversation today, and I am very excited to welcome her on. Thank you for being here today.
What's up? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. Where are you joining us from today? Where in the world are you?
I just moved to Seattle, so I am hanging out in the PNW and just having a groovy time.
Nice. Awesome. I'm coming at everyone live from Irvine, California. I've been on the road this year. So this is not always my home base. And we've got some live viewers saying hi. Thanks, John, for joining us live.
John?
For everyone else joining in whatever platform you're on, please go ahead and share your questions with us live or tag us afterwards, #replay, so we can come back and answer the questions for you. So Kiki, I have to know, how did you come up with the name Mother of Dragons? I mean, it was one of the most immediate things I connected with when I saw your profile and Laura introduced us, because I'm a dragon in Chinese astrology, and I was like, this chick's badass. How do I get
Well, it was really co-created by my network. So, I am a brand strategist, and I also just like to play. One of the ways that I use data is not to manipulate data, it's to witness more of the fullness of the interactive human experience I'm having online. So I'm just myself on LinkedIn, but then I'll look at the data analytics and be like, okay, how are people reacting to things? And I made a post that was like, I want my next job to be Mother of Dragons. Who is hiring for this? And it was my top post, which has since been deleted. I decided to wipe the slate clean. But I was like, oh, wait, I have an LLC. I'll just give myself that title because I love making dreams come true. And so often we're like the only ones getting in our way of that. So I was like, okay, this is my job title. I'm a fantasy nerd. I used to write fan fiction when I was like 6.
Love it.
I love Game of Thrones. I'm a facilitator. I like to help powerful beings emerge. And, outside of just basically being a kid, to me, the dragon, there's so many different cultures that have their own specific meaning for it, but I do see it as that like majestic, fiery creature like the phoenix, who has risen from, the ashes, who works with the element of fire. And dragon to me is that powerful, mighty beast, who has really just, been forged. And so to me, that's a lot of people who, came from poverty, experienced disability, chronic illness, are immigrants who have like truly risen from just whatever depths they were in, into just mighty, mighty beings. And those are the people I'm interested in empowering.
I love that. And as you were speaking, I could just envision, yes, dragons are mighty and they're fierce and they're strong and they're powerful. They, come from flame, or in some mythology, they're under, within the water as well. And yet they still need a mother. They
Yes.
still need that nurturing. They still need some guidance, and they need that support for that security and that stability so that they can emerge and they can become that powerful being. So I think that's very apt.
Yeah. For me, it's the archetype of the mother of dragons is very in alignment with how I choose to show up as a facilitator, in that, I'm just interested in holding space for your awesomeness. And I do have the ability to hold expansive space, breaking paradigms on, neurodivergence and gender, like whoever you want to show up as, I want to give you that space to be and evolve. And I'm also just humbled to your might. That's when people grant me the opportunity to facilitate them, that is the greatest honor they can bestow upon me. And I take it very, very seriously. So, that's that archetype for me.
I love that. And we've got some more people saying hello, Javen, Sirius, Hannah from Lithuania, and ADHD Autistic Unicorn sending love. Funky from Sweden. Thank you all for being here. It's super rad to see everyone coming in and supporting. And I love that because, the archetype is such an important concept, and it's a great way to help leaders understand their behavior patterns and what they're doing. It doesn't mean that, you necessarily have to be a mother in order to embody that mother archetype. And we all get these different archetypes from our upbringing. You mentioned immigrants and people who've gone through poverty, and that resilience, that grit. It's something that you don't teach. It's something you experience. And we can't understand it fully if we've not been in it, but we can be empathetic. And then that allows us to have these paths converge. And so how do you help people, especially at C-suite level, open up their minds to these types of concepts?
That's a fantastic question, because, if I'm going to be truly authentic, working directly with C-suite executives has been a very challenging journey. And it's one that has pushed me to expand the realms of my heart and the compassion I can hold. So I'm studying project management right now, and it teaches like a lot of the like just the principles and the values one should uphold. And I'm really serious about keeping my values intact. And in order to do that, I have had to compromise my safety and my security on teams by, saying exactly what I think to C-suite people. And I've really grappled with that. Like, did I do the right thing? Like, was my message that I delivered compassionate enough? Or, is that what we both needed in that moment? I don't know. I've had a lot of conflicting emotions surrounding that. But ultimately, I've learned that, these containers we put ourselves in, right? Within our current systems, they are all, capable of being our cages. And especially after getting laid off and having some time to truly, truly heal from just the continuous grind and hustle, I realize that so many of these executives, so many of our leaders, celebrities, dictators, even, they're in their own hell. Many of them, don't know how to transition into, maybe a more equitable culture, or to, begin to build trust with people that they've had inordinate power over for a long time. And that is its own cage. So, yeah, I think that, at this point, I've become very passionate about working directly with the C-suite, because that level of responsibility in today's day and age is just, if you're somebody who's moving through the world with eyes open, um, taking on that kind of role in today's day and age does come with so much responsibility. You are going to cause harm. You are going to hurt people. You are going to disappoint people. So I'm interested in being compassionate, and really extending compassion both ways. I've worked in the trenches most of my career. I am a workers advocate. I'm a people's advocate, and I now feel very inclusive of that love and advocacy and care when it comes to the C-suite.
I love that. And I think especially people at that level, they typically don't have that compassion because it was not a strategy they were taught, that they were using themselves necessarily to get to where they are. And as you said, they've been in this box and it's become a cage. And a lot of times those cage doors are even open, but it's like Stockholm syndrome, right? We stay in there because it's the safety and security of what we know. And we're afraid. I mean, especially in today's world, there's so much change and so much room to, breathe wrong and you've offended someone. And so, and I'm sure, as you mentioned, being divergent, this taught you a lot of opportunities. So it just goes to highlight that which we can view as our weakness can actually be our greatest strength.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you help others to reframe and pivot their mindset around that?
For me, it's all about truly having my sovereignty intact. I couldn't become who my highest self. I couldn't live in alignment with my highest purpose, if you will. While I was earthed in systems of harm. And, it does look like just continuously recognizing that I am my number one and I have to put my life vest on first. And I also am deserving of justice in this world. I've been compromised and marginalized for much of my life for various reasons. And for me, it is a lot of just leaning into joy, leaning into pleasure, and understanding that, like, hey, it is righteous for me to experience these things, because this sense of sovereignty, this sense of play, is the space in which I can extend the realms of my heart and hold that like multi-dimensional compassionate space. It is from that place of healing and play. If I am, trying to enact change because a wound is driving me to do that, I will inevitably cause harm. So yeah, to me, it's just like constant, continuous self-analysis and lifting the veils of Maya, if you will. And so I wanted to talk about that slightly when it comes to working with C-suiters. These veils can be called, and I can't say his name, I want to reference him, Michele. He wrote Flow, but I'm reading his book, The Evolving Self, and he talks about how these three veils are our genes, our culture, and our ego, like these driving forces that drive our behavior. And being able to show up and be responsive and to do what best serves the present moment looks like continuously lifting these veils, because I am not the exception to evolution. I can't outrun my genetic framework and the culture by which I live, and the fact that my consciousness needs an ego vehicle to make sense of itself. So for me, that looks like just continuously recognizing, remembering that, like, oh yeah, these are factors at play. What is actually motivating me? But when it comes to ego is a fascinating topic, because I think so often in our narrative, at least in America, we talk about it as like pride.
Right.
And in reality, it is that vehicle for consciousness, for self to make sense of itself. And we attach the self to the material world.
Yes.
So our ego can be our body, but it also might be our house and our car, and even like our relationships, our children, partners. And the thing is, so when going back to the C-suite, right? Like, first of all, I have to say, not everyone in the C-suite is a person of privilege. There are tons of small businesses out there, C-levels, who are just, working class people. Some of them are impoverished. Like, me saying I'm C-suite status doesn't mean I can run an enterprise organization. It just means like, yeah, I can do businessy things, figure it out, and, treat people good and stuff.
Yep.
So there's, first of all, just have to, advocate for that. But, when we talk about people who have, been winning in the current system, so much of that winning is because this, system of capitalism, very much so works on this reward system of like material safety and goods and consumer behavior. So what then happens is, these people who build careers, they build businesses, they attach so much of their ego to their business, their house, their car. And when it comes to like, making reparations or building bridges of equity, to ask these people to make sacrifices, it actually really just, it activates that animal within that's like, oh wait, this framework that I've built is how I make sense of myself, and you're asking me to remove something from that actually can like cause an identity crisis. That is a entire paradigm shift. And the more that the ego is attached to the material realm in whatever capacity, the more it has to lose, the more, quite frankly, unstable it is. So there's just I think it makes a lot of sense why, people who attach themselves to the material world, continue to almost like win within that system. But they then have to feel like very boxed in, like I have to protect this. So yeah, to me, like, leadership, it's not that I even care to lead. It's just like I realized that I was, by doing things differently, and then I realized that I had an inherent responsibility to that. Once I had been through so many cycles of like, oh, people look up to me. Like, I used to cause harm because I didn't realize people looked up to me, because I didn't want that. I was like, guys, I'm just flailing, like. But now it's like, okay, you know what? People are following me anyway. It's really important that I am become highly conscious of my behavior and, do that work. So yeah, for me, it is a lot of that, lifting those veils, specifically the ego. I am a practicing minimalist. This is not my house. Like, I might look cool right now. I do own this bling and this and this, but I'm a house sitter who is in an incredible amount of debt. And I don't own anything, and if one of my friends drove my car and crashed it, I wouldn't care. I'd just hope they were okay. And so, to loop back to your question, though, this is the energy in which that I can really show up and serve, because I don't have anything to lose. Like, this isn't self-sacrifice in action. This is sovereignty in action.
Yes.
My ego is very tied up in just like this little container right here. And it's I do build containers for me to lean fully into it. I love getting dressed up and like, I'm just beautiful. So that, when it comes time to be a facilitator, to be a servant leader, I can shed that because I've taken up my space somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that, I'm kind of just rambling, but I think that.
No, that is great. And really, I love that last point you ended on, because so many of us feel our sovereignty is impacted when we can't take up space all the time, everywhere. And yet that's not actually required in order to feel sovereign, to have sovereignty, to express it. And so that was a really beautiful point you just made, that we can express that in different ways and different modalities, so that when we do go into containers where, by the very nature of the energy exchange that's taking place, whether that's a monetary exchange or a friendship or something, you recognize that, okay, this is what they're needing and asking for, and this is what I'm providing. That was what was agreed upon, because otherwise you're violating boundaries. And I think that's a very important thing about sovereignty, is so many people forget it's also about honoring the person you're interacting with and their boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. That just mutual experience of consent is critical towards the success of an interaction.
Yeah. I also think what you mentioned about, that you could be C-suite level and do businessy things, but not necessarily be running a huge enterprise or making a lot of money. And it's this responsibility you identified in yourself. And I think that it's actually, we all have a responsibility to be conscious in our actions. And once you become aware of that, it's very difficult to go back, right? You can't unknow what you know. And once you take that responsibility, you're able to affect change and to be intentional about the pivots you make, rather than just constantly reacting to your environment. And so while you might be flailing, I mean, all of us are flailing. Everyone in the human experience, I think, goes through these periods of like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And what am I doing and why? And then we learn and we grow from that. And so I think that's really poignant point that you made.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up, because I'm not entirely convinced that we have free will. We do have, we are conscious. The brain can observe itself, which is fascinating. But I take a lot of inspiration out of, my studies with like martial arts and my studies with like freestyle music and dance. It's like, all we can do is continuously work on our fundamentals, continuously consciously develop skills. I might, we might have this possibility of choice. I think this is a philosophical discussion, but we're not in control of like all of the factors of choice. Like if this was up to me, you and I would be cats hanging out, on another planet with like water behind us, and we'd be like, hey. So, it's not like, as far as I know, it's not my individual personal choice that I am a human and things, we're in this very complex system. And, the choices presented to us are, determined by millions and millions of years of evolution. But yeah, it is that just continuous work on fundamentals. The more that I leaned into my journey of leadership development, I recognized, I've got books on MBA knowledge. I've got books on, how to do best practices in SEO. But I realize daily that my work is in value study. My work is in, global studies. Like, I need to learn more about just all of the diversity that surrounds us. I need to study the nuance of values and the application of that, and continuously do that self-analysis, because I'm constantly evolving. And if I think, oh, well, I did a value study a week ago, I'm good. Like I'm a good person. Like I'm a completely different person. Like I am
You're different than
evolving.
when we started this conversation
Yes.
20
Oh yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Like you and I are interacting. We have now influenced each other. We are, both experiencing evolution in action. So that continuous analysis is critical. I mean, it's critical individually. It's critical in businesses. I think like agile teams do a good job of understanding this and, working with feedback, working collaboratively, being self-organizing. But I do this for myself. And all we can really do is work on these skills. So values, all of that is good. And also like physical skills, like, yeah, learn to code, learn different frameworks for managing projects, learn how to do push-ups, all that kind of stuff. So then when the time comes where you are present enough to like make a conscious choice, you've got this awesome skill set intact where you can be responsive instead of reactive. But that does look like slowing down. It looks like taking a lot of deep breaths. There is no doubt that half the drivel coming out of my mouth is just reactive, and I'm having to work right now to be responsive, to give this moment exactly what it needs. And, I have made this my entire focus that I don't really have time to do anything else. And because of that, I do need to find all my work in a flow state. My next best fit at an organization will come to me in a flow state. My clients will come to me in a flow state, because I am so dedicated to this journey of being responsive.
I love that. And I like this makes me think of this word responsibility, because in Sadhguru's Inner Engineering, he talks about breaking that word into responsibility. So it's your ability to respond. And so the more we can improve that in ourselves, the more awareness we have, the easier we can make aligned choices. And if we're talking about being agile, right, whenever we go through a pivot, we need to know what we want to do next. And a lot of times we're in this murky, we're at the point where it's dark and there's fog and there's the scary dragons, not the fun dragons behind us, and we don't know which way to go. But as to your point about foundational skill sets, have we been practicing those? Have we been asking ourselves those hard questions and analyzing and being present and moving over a little bit if it doesn't feel good anymore over here? No, we wait until that moment. And so it'd be like asking, the gymnast to do a backflip when they've not practiced any of the other foundational skills that are required to do that backflip. Right?
Yeah. I feel like we're getting into almost like agile coaching now. And I love that you're the pivoter, because, this is truly, getting back to like, what is leadership? What is servant leadership? It is that ability to be responsive. The universe is self-organizing. Like the fact that we are here and we're not being flung into the atmosphere is because everything, despite our internal feelings of chaos and imbalance, like, everything is balanced just so that we exist and we continue to, evolve and be part of, natural cycles. And what I think is so beautiful about, leaders and anybody, a leader it's not your title. You might have the title custodian and still be a leader.
Absolutely. Leader is never in your business card.
No. But, leaders who really are able to unearth themselves from some of these veils and begin to work on being responsive, we find ourselves just almost like summoned to where we need to go. And that's really what I even like. I want to let Dragon's Lair know. I want to let my followers know, like, I see all of your love outpouring every day. I have so many DMs that I cannot and will not ever catch up to, amazing comments. And it fills my heart with joy. And I am so committed to showing up for, who needs it most and where I need to be most in every moment. And sometimes that does look like getting in deep in the DMs with one of my connections. Sometimes that looks like being in a work call and, my neighbor across the street, maybe it's like an elderly person who fell. Like, I'm going to hang up and be like, sorry, got to go. We'll catch up later. And, that ability to just be so sensitive to your environment, to know where you need to be and where others need you, I think is critical. And to me, that's just the best it's not self-sacrifice. Like that is the most aligned, fulfilling way I can live my life. And yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to really be aware of this little dance that is happening in the universe.
I love that. You made me think of a book also, as you said, the word chaos. It's anyone who wants the links, and I'll send it to you later. It's Chaos, Creativity, and Cosmic Consciousness by Rupert Sheldrake, Terrence McKenna, and Ralph Abram.
Oh, love
It's
that.
an epic book, but it's this concept, like the definition we give chaos is not the true definition. And so I'm not going to get into that now because that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But I love to dive into the definitions we hold, right? How can we reframe the definitions that we have about certain things? And so as you're talking about getting deep in the DMs, I was like, wait a second. DM is like the DNM, deep and meaningful. So let's reframe DM directly.
Ooh.
Ew, someone's trying to get something from me and they're trying to sell me something. Why don't we look at it as an opportunity to get deep and meaningful?
Yes.
And if it's aligned, it will. If it's not, it won't. But then your
Yes.
energy in that interaction can be different. And you never know what that might turn into if you take the preconceived notion about what's happening away and you just experience what's happening.
Ooh. I love that so much. And, you know, just to spin off that quickly, want people to know that, like, you and I might be unicorns, you know. I think I can't speak for all, you know, recruiters or hiring managers out, and I'm not hiring, I need a job. But yeah, I am inundated with texts and DMs, omni-channel. But when somebody sends me a long form message, like something this long on LinkedIn DMs or over email, I read that shit because I'm like, whoa, someone wants to get deep and meaningful.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where I want to be. I don't have time to chit chat back and forth. I only have time to get deep and meaningful. So
Beautiful.
I love that you reframed that. Thank you for that reframe. That's powerful.
You are so welcome. I'm really glad that we were able to have this conversation. And I feel like we're going to have to bring you back on for other topics and other types of interviews because I feel like we could go on until like
Oh yeah,
10 p.m.
totally could.
So amazing. So Kiki, where's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to follow more, send you a deep and meaningful message, or learn more about how they can work with you or offer you a job?
Yeah, so this is how I operate, right? I'm super autistic. I have to create frameworks for my own experiencing. So I don't post any kind of businessy stuff. I just make weird Kiki posts. If you want to talk to me in short form, it is best to engage on the comments of my posts because they're organized. I can click on them. I can make time box time to go through the comments and respond to you and send you love. That is awesome. If you want to get deep and meaningful, please send me a deep and meaningful message over DM. I will notice that. It does need to be long enough. You are also welcome. Do I have the ability to write my email in a comment?
Absolutely.
How do I do that?
And then I can put it up on the screen afterwards if you.
How do I do that? Oh no, this is in the private chat. I think I can do it on LinkedIn. Can I?
Let me here. What I'll do is because you've sent it to me, so I will tag it in there. So you keep talking. I'll put it up for you.
So Kiki at wayshowerconsulting.com. That is my LLC. I do not have a website. I do not have a business card. If anyone wants to work with me professionally, I customize everything to your needs because it's not about me. It's about you. So you can email me, but I'm also not trying to just be anyone's coach or consultant. I just like authentic relationships. You can email me anytime at this address and, you know, tell me about your life. Tell me about the books you're reading. You know, connect with me. I'll want to know how to best honor you with words and language. If you know, have like a pronoun set that you use, if there's anything you want me to know about your identity, please share that with me. And I'm happy to hold space for all of your fullness.
Beautiful. Amazing. And so if anyone has any questions after, you can, of course, comment on the live video. This will be posted to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, so you can go back and watch it if you weren't able to join us from the beginning. And just wanted to remind everyone that real pivoters are human beings just like me and you, and all it takes is the choice to do something different.
Yeah.
All we have to do is go out and choose one different thing and experience life in a new way so that we can become our own mother of dragons.
Love it. Yes.
Thank you so much, Kiki, for being here with us today, and for everyone who joined us live and will watch back. Please take a moment to share with us your biggest takeaway, what you'd like to hear more of, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah.